Once, long ago, in a village by a distant sea, something curious happened. A farmer's wife gave birth to a girl with hair 7 feet long. The baby was named Rapunzel. With each passing year, her shining ebony hair grew longer. Look, her hair grew longer. Look how long it is. One day, not long after her 7th birthday, Rapunzel was watering the garden cabbage patch. As she worked, she sang with a voice that sounded like silver bells and happy birds. A sly old witch hobbled by and was enchanted with the beautiful voice. She decided to steal Rapunzel away and keep her for a companion. The witch, with whispered magic words, cast a spell on Rapunzel and told her to follow her into the dark jungle, and her parents never saw her again. See, the witch cast a magic spell. Many years later, a young prince named Komandi was out hunting in the jungle. He heard a beautiful sound like silvery bells and a lonesome nightingale. After a time, Komandi came to a very tall bamboo tower with a single tiny window at the top, and the delightful singing came from that window. He called out, but the singing stopped, and there came no answer. And most puzzling of all, the tower had no doors. See, the prince saw a tower. There's the bamboo tower. What's that?
A jaguar.
That is a jaguar.
And that's
From that day on, Komandi rode from his palace to the strange tower every day and listened to the lonely singing. One day as he came near the tower, he saw an old witch approach with a basket of food. He hid in the brambles and watched. The witch said, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, I know you're there. Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." An old witch came to the tower. See that? Hi. You see that? She's going to get Rapunzel to sing to her. Then a beautiful maiden appeared at the window. She tied her hair to a rod in the wall, and from the anchored rod her long ebony hair flowed like black silk down the wall. Looping the basket of food over one arm, the old witch climbed up the rope of hair and into the window. "So that's how it's done," said Prince Komandi with a happy chuckle. An hour passed, and yet another. He burned with impatience for the old witch to leave. See how she climbed up the hair?
I have climbed up the hill.
So she could get to Rapunzel. And at last, she came back down the rope of hair. She called up to the window, "Speak to no strangers or terrible things will happen." Then she hobbled off into the jungle. The prince approached the tower and called up, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, maiden most fair. Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." The prince tried it. See him trying? He's calling to her. When Rapunzel heard and saw the handsome young prince, she was afraid, but she gathered a lush bouquet of jungle flowers. But he gathered a lush bouquet of jungle flowers and held them up with a reassuring smile. And for the first time since the age of 7, Rapunzel smiled back. She forgot the terrible warning of the old witch and let her hair fall to the ground. Quickly, Komandi climbed the silken rope, and for both it was a moment of rainbows and moonlight, and love at first sight. The prince and the prisoner sat on the floor and shared a festive lunch, and talked. Words spilled out over and over from both. They found so much that needed saying, and it ended with Rapunzel's story of the witch. "Tomorrow," vowed the prince, "I will bring the ladder of rope and rescue you." And reluctantly they parted with that hopeful thought. See, they had love at first sight. Look at all her hair. But their plan of rescue was not to be. Rapunzel forgot to hide Komandi's gift of flowers, and when the old witch saw them the next day, her anger was terrible to behold. "You disobeyed me," she screeched. Yes, that's the witch. Then she picked up a blade and, clutching Rapunzel's hair, she hacked and chopped and cut it all off. Rapunzel collapsed to the floor, weeping and in despair. The witch cut off all her hair. After that terrible day, Prince Komandi approached the tower. He called out, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair. We shall be free from the witch who keeps you there." The witch had tied Rapunzel's hair to the rod. Staying out of sight, she let the hair fall. She chuckled wickedly and sang softly, "Steal my child away from me? Well, bold prince, we shall see. We shall see." The witch tricked the prince. Rapunzel struggled to her feet just as Comandi reached the window. She cried, "Go back!" But it was too late. With a terrible screech, the witch pushed the helpless prince and he fell back into space, down to the ground far below. Oh, I think he's falling down. Yeah. Comandi fell into a tangle of sharp brambles which blinded him. He struggled free of the thorns and fell in a faint. The witch cackled and chuckled and shook her fist. "Now, Rapunzel," she hissed, "didn't I warn you? Your brave prince lies blinded and bleeding. Come on, look." See, the thorns blinded him. But the window was too small for two. As Rapunzel tried to see Comandi, she accidentally pushed the witch, so that she too fell from the tower. The witch shouted the magic words that could turn her into a bat, but in her haste and fear, she used the words that turned her into a toad. When the squealing toad hit the ground, it became a scattering of sulfur, dust, and bones, and the evil witch was no more. She shouldn't have got nervous. Rapunzel climbed down from the tower on the rope of her own hair. Gently she touched the bleeding prince and wept a shower of tears over him. Her tears fell softly on his wound and stopped the bleeding. Then he slowly opened his eyes and he could see again. Comandi and Rapunzel held hands, faced each other, and smiled. The bad memories melted away, and the perfume of roses filled the air as the bramble bush blossomed from the magic of love. Now they have sunshine and magic. When Comandi took Rapunzel to his palace for a life of days filled with sunshine and laughter, she was never lonely again. That was Sleeping Beauty, retold by Fred Crump and illustrated by Crump, published by Winston Derrick Publishing for little girls like us.
Okay. It's a bone.